Make sure you don't miss a thing. Go to starzology.com/newsletter and sign up. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I am your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arwyyne O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here.
So nice to have you once more. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about music in the chart.
Yeah.
How music shows up, significators of music, and clearly musical talent or an interest in music or something like that. And we're going to be looking at a few charts of well-known musicians as well, just to have a light look into how these creative things come up in charts, because we do love a good creative chart.
We do. Absolutely.
And previously we did do how art shows up in the chart for artists. And then we thought we'd move on to musicians, because that is still an art form.
Absolutely. And it's a very different kind of art form, but it will probably, have a lot of things in common with visual art, but some very different things as well.
Yeah.
I would think Mercury might rear its head a little more than in the visual arts. But yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
So to my mind, the main planet that actually rules music is, Neptune and Venus.
Yeah.
Venus and Neptune, and they come into play for the creativity of it. And Neptune particularly is about music and even singing and dance and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then, but also within this, because music is, although you would say sing a song, somebody's written that down already on a sheet of music, and that's where Mercury's going to come in.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I do think that there's going to be a combination of Venus, Neptune, and Mercury in some of these charts we're going to have a look at.
Yeah.
We can also look at our charts to see just how musical are we, and kind of go from there. Do you have any thoughts on the other planets that may?
I think that those complexes can bring in other planets that might help to. It will take a lot of motivation and a lot, not just inspiration, but the motivation to persevere in any kind of artistic career.
Yeah.
That would, I think, pull in maybe Saturn and a really strong sun if you're going to be like a lead singer or a performer.
If you're going to be Mick Jagger, maybe.
Right, exactly. As opposed to someone who just writes music or maybe is a what's the word? Like a session musician where they're, in the background all the time, and you can see their credits are a mile long on like whatever the music version of IMDb is, but maybe you don't know their name, but they've been in the music field their entire life.
Yes.
And maybe they don't have that desire to be out on stage.
That's right. And I believe there's someone in your family who actually plays an instrument too.
A few, yes.
Wow. Well, I've got to tell you, I've personally never owned a musical instrument. It's really not part of my...
No, mine either. But my mother, father, grandmother, both of my half brothers and my partner are all very musical. So,
really?
Yeah, it sort of skipped me, sadly. I wish I could at least sing, but yes, we try.
Thinking back to years ago when I still lived in England, my great aunts and that, everybody had a piano.
Oh, yeah.
And you would go around, because basically they didn't have TVs back then, and you go around and have a sing-along, and somebody could always play the piano.
Right.
My mother was a pianist. She studied music and she played, but it just never came my way. So
yeah,
a lot of it's a mystery to me. So
yeah, for sure.
But the astrology of music is really what we're going to be having a dig into today. Yeah. So we'll have a look at a couple of charts and see what we think about that.
Cool. I love it.
Okay, so the first musician's chart that I've got laid out here is good old Mozart.
Classic.
Amadeus. So his birth details are 8 p.m., January 27th, 1756. In Salzburg, Austria. Now, I think everybody knows who he is.
Absolutely. I love that we have a birth time.
Yes. Well, it's 8 p.m.
Back then, you never know. I mean, it might not be exact, but at least
we got something
documented. Yeah,
we've got something, and that returns a chart that's got a Virgo rising at 12 degrees, and so if we have a look at those three planets we were talking about, Venus, Neptune, and Mercury. So just to clue everybody in, then the Venus is at 29 Aquarius in the 6th house.
Mm-hmm.
So that is daily practice for sure.
Oh, yeah. Inspiration on a daily basis. Love it.
Correct. And then he's got Neptune in Leo.
Love it.
In the 11th house, which is kind of a good placement there. And that Neptune is tightly opposing Mercury in Aquarius. in the 5th house of creativity.
Amazing.
That was also the thing that I think the houses for music have to be the 5th house and maybe a couple of others too.
Yeah, for sure. The first house might really help too with that, as I was saying, the performer thing, or just the desire to actually have people hear you play.
Yes.
And with Mozart, I think that's not as much of a thing because he was a child prodigy, which means that his parents, or I guess father in his case, were sort of, ushering him along and, come along, little Amadeus. And, he didn't really have a say in the matter at first, the way that someone who, grows up and just, wants to be the life of the party and wants to do karaoke or wants to play guitar and party.
And again, if you look at his chart, which you can click through on the blog post, he's got the Sun and Saturn, which are the two significators of the father, in Aquarius, in the 5th house, conjoined that Mercury.
Love it.
So his father was thoroughly invested in his creativity output, and clearly he must have seen that the guy could play the piano.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know when he started.
Yeah.
But,
I think it was incredibly young. Like I want to say 4 or something. Yeah, we could probably look that up.
We probably can. And maybe some of our listeners know way more about this, but the guy, he's got this stellium in Aquarius in the 5th house, Mercury, Sun, Saturn, and it's basically all opposing the Neptune, the opposition aspect is, they call it external dilemmas, where you are putting something out there, you're projecting out there, and his music has absolutely stood the test of time.
Oh, sure. But that indicates the friction, that opposition of the struggle of it. And that, we know from, if we've seen the movie, we know his life was not always easy. And he, went through bouts of poverty and addiction and, kind of difficulty.
But I understood when he wrote his masterpieces on the page, there was no mistakes. He got it down the first time, because that other guy, Salieri, who was in competition, could not believe his ability to. He did just write down a bit of a song and scratch bits out, and it just went down first shot, and it was there. Yeah, because clearly he could hear it in his head. Right?
That is incredible. And he composed in the course of his lifetime. I'm now just seeing a little biography, so I can throw out a few facts that are going to punctuate the points here. The compositions, more than 800 works over the course of his lifetime.
Really?
Yeah. And he did not live to be very old. He, I believe, died.
He was 30-something, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. By the age of 5, he had already composed. He had already begun to compose, and he was competent on the keyboard and violin by age 5.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So mums out there, yes. Years ago, when my kids were young in elementary school, they must have been like 6 and 9 or whatever it was, they were having a talent show at the school. So, of course, all the moms go, and there's someone doing the hula hoops, and there's someone playing the triangle, and then there was a juggler, and all of these kids did their talent thing, and my daughter happened to be doing some singing. And then at the very end, they had this young kid who must have been 8 if he was a day, and he sat down at the piano, and he blew us all away.
Oh, my gosh.
It was, you could not believe what this kid could do.
Yeah.
And they announced afterwards that he was actually being taken out of the school, and he's going to some special school, some music school somewhere for his absolute talent. And he was a little kid.
Wow.
So it is there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think, moms always send their kids to music lessons, don't they?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
If they're musically inclined, but if it's not in your chart, you're not going to move forward with that, right?
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of art school. I mean, I did a lot of art in school, rather, and then I did go to art school later.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of acting classes and dance classes and things like that, and drama.
I did ballet for
I tried ballet. I wasn't very good at it.
Yeah.
Gymnastics, all that stuff. Yeah.
But I was definitely, music was not my thing at all. But we know what we like. Okay. So astrologically, what are we saying? That if Neptune's opposing all your planets, you challenge musically. Probably yes, because we're saying Mercury opposing Neptune there, and that would definitely be someone who can write down what can be brought from the ether.
It's that inspiration coming from an external, or what seems like an external source, for sure. I love that.
And I think the Mercury too has to rule writing down music, because it's like a code, and you can either read it or you can't. And people say, I can read music, and that they're tapping into their Mercury to do that.
It's absolutely like a code. It is a code. It's
a
coding.
secret code. It's a secret code. Yeah, it's like, I mean, I can read a crochet pattern because I know the symbols of that.
And that's also a code. That's amazing. And you can read a chart, which a lot of people can't.
Well, yeah, and reading an astrology chart, you're having to engage your Mercury to be able to interpret the symbols within and weave the story. And that's really what music is about too. So I would imagine those who actually are composing, rather than just singing other people's stuff, would have to have a strongly placed Mercury that is being challenged or fully engaged within that chart.
Yeah. It's interesting you say weaving, because up until the last couple of centuries, weaving was one of those arts that especially women were incredibly skilled at, and that was something
you had to weave your stuff.
You had to, yeah. And that was the original, the original basis of like what was kind of thought of as like coding a computer was almost based on the concepts of weaving. It was very much similar to that, and it kind of makes sense.
Wow, yeah,
because you had to code a pattern. You had to have the whole thing planned out before you started to weave something, or else you're just going to you can't just wing it.
Well, even today, I mean, in certain areas of the world, the women weavers are still making handcrafted woven whatnots.
Sure.
And look at this tablecloth we've got on here. This wasn't made by a machine because you could tell because there are mistakes in it.
Yeah,
but
I mean, good point. I shouldn't have said up until a couple. Yeah, of course they still.
Yeah,
but much.
But we don't.
So
I don't. You don't.
It wasn't really an option.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, super interesting. Yeah, so that is the Mozart's chart, and it's really quite an interesting chart. As you said, there is a question over the time, but I'm sure many astrologers will agree on this because a lot of people will have looked into his chart more so than what we have. Yeah. And even though Mercury is rising, so it does make Mercury the chart ruler, which is, again, reinforcing. And Mercury is not the planet you'd immediately think of for music, but I think it has to do with writing it down.
Notation.
For sure.
Yeah. And even just notes, conceiving of something that doesn't exist yet and then writing it down, whether it's, painting or music or writing a story or journalism or what have you.
Doing your layouts and
yeah.
Super interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So one more thing I just noticed is that he has Uranus right on the descendant, which I think is really interesting in Pisces, which is a very creative placement for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just like seeing anything that's conjunct the angles. Conjoined
Absolutely.
The angles.
Well, angular planets, they're very strongly placed, yes. And, I mean, he really has stood the test of time, hasn't he?
Yeah, totally.
So the second chart that we're going to be looking at, who's a musician, is John Lennon. So his birth details are 6:30 p.m., October the 9th, 1940, in Liverpool, England. And this returns an ascendant of 19 degrees Aries. And again, you can click through to the blog post and see these charts.
Yeah.
So again, if we're going to be looking at these planets, we're talking about Venus, Neptune, and Mercury. He's got a slightly different combination going on here. So he's got Venus and Neptune in the 6th house.
Yeah.
Daily practice, honing your skill, honing your craft.
Yeah, in Virgo, no less.
In Virgo, no less. And clearly he apparently started with the guitar when he was also very young.
Yeah.
So it's like daily practice of constantly playing guitar and not having to be harried into doing it because it's musician as well. So although there is no aspect between the two there, and then the third one we were talking about is Mercury. Now Mercury's up there in Scorpio in the 7th house. Yeah. So actually these planets don't actually have an aspect, but they are again, the two are there in that 6th house.
Yeah.
And we know that he collaborated obviously with McCartney, and he did a lot of work by himself, but in the early days, he did it himself.
Yeah.
And that Neptune there has this trine running over to Uranus, bringing in the unique sound and the unique simplicity of the Beatles' work, because they're not complicated songs, but they're put together so well that they resonate with us.
Yeah, it seems like they've always existed. It's like they're why didn't we think of that? It's so simple, kind of thing. And then they just stand the test of time, and everybody knows them.
Yeah. And with that Uranus there, it's actually giving Uranus trine Neptune, which is a lot of people in the 1940s would have had that,
right.
But it's challenging him to be something different, even though he was coming up behind Elvis and whatnot. They came up with different simplicity within their music. Now that Neptune of his is conjoined Mars.
Yeah.
Now to me that does that's a tricky one, because it makes a bit of an aggression and a bit of a pushback to whatever it is he's putting out. And we do know he was controversial.
Oh yeah, totally. And that the team dynamics in the Beatles were not always smooth, of course, because they didn't last forever. And then all the members went off to do their own thing very successfully.
Yeah. And that was the thing there. And unfortunately, he's got Scorpio cusp on the 8th house, which is, so Mars is ruling and Pluto's ruling, which is unfortunately often an indication of how you go.
Yeah.
And so we're not going to labor that point. But the point is that he had the energy to do this creative work. Mars in the 6th house gives you energy for your daily practice. Even if you're in the gym or you're doing your writing or you're doing your, what did they say? Doing your sets
or the sets. Yeah.
Doing your drills and practicing and honing your skills. And there he's also got the Sun and Venus now in the 6th house, making him do this daily stuff automatically.
Yeah.
I don't have anything in my 6th house natally, but in my relocated chart, everything ended up in my 6th house when I go to Vancouver.
Oh, wow.
And I've felt since I've been here, these 12 years, that all I've done is work. And it's true. I wake up in the morning and I'm on it. And in the evening, I'm on it. When you leave, I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's just no let up from, and I'm not begrudging it. I'm just saying that it's productive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
you wouldn't do it if you
focused.
didn't want to. It's not someone else making you do it.
Exactly. I choose to do all this creative work, hone my craft. And I don't know, it's only since I've been in Vancouver I've really got down to this. Every single day I am on here creating more stuff in my nature, whereas with him he would have been writing stuff that we've never even heard.
Right. Yeah, it's just right in there at the very inception, right there in his natal chart. And also, speaking of Mercury, he's got a few very sort of difficult aspects. He's got Mercury opposite Saturn, Mercury opposite Jupiter, which Saturn and Jupiter are conjunct there, and then Mercury square Pluto. So it shows that there's a struggle to create, but he's driven to create.
Yeah,
those are things like it's like that inspiration coming in through that opposition, but it's a struggle. It's not always easy, but there's this compulsion to create despite the difficulty.
Exactly. And if Mercury in the 7th house, if we relate that to his life partners, I mean, he was married to, what was her name, Cindy, for a short period, but then it was Yoko Ono, and she came in, and they were then the two. Yeah. He always put her together as the two. And I'm not sure if she was musically or not, but
definitely, but in a very, very sort of experimental and sort of offbeat kind of way. And she's gone on to continue to be a very avant-garde artist and performer.
Is that right?
Ever since then, I believe she even did something at the art gallery here in Vancouver just a couple of years ago. I remember I didn't go see it, but I do remember seeing her name in huge placard on the back of the art gallery and heard that was happening. And I was like, that's great that she's still doing that. It's amazing. Yeah. And has continued to champion all of his stuff ever since then. And, still being a partner, decades after his death.
And if we look at his 5th house, which is what we're talking about for creative output.
Yeah.
He's got good old Pluto in there and Chiron. Yeah. So what is that? The painful giving birth to your projects.
Right.
That it wouldn't have necessarily come easy, but he would be compelled to give birth to these projects.
Yeah, for sure.
And his music and each of the songs that went out. And it's Chiron as well, but it's still Pluto. So it's going to be life and death whether this song goes out and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. And the all the protests and all that stuff, but in a creative way. It wasn't just, I'm going to go march and, do whatever, or give a speech. But it was creative, playful forms of protest, which is it's almost
it's in the songs. Yeah,
it's an artistic expression as well, and also in the songs. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, and again, I think it's a case of that you can't just look at a chart and say musician and stamp it. When you realize that's what you're looking for, but you're seeing the type of music that these people are able to, because he was a writer of music too.
Absolutely.
So that's important to mention that, not just a singer. Yeah,
for sure. And once you know that someone is interested in music, then you can also see, well, what is that? What type of, how is that going to play out in your life? And how will you be able to integrate it? How easily will you be able to pursue a creative career? Or will that just be something that you always, do on the side, but you can never push that into being an actual
into mainstream.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of the longevity, it's really interesting. When I've only been to New York once, and I absolutely loved it. I I've kind of felt an affinity my whole life for New York for some reason.
Okay.
Maybe just because I read, Marvel comics in the 90s and they were all set in New York. And so I had this
Gotham City.
Well, that's Superman, or no, Batman. That's Batman. But all the X-Men were from, they were from.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I know. I'm being a nerd right now. But yeah, so I don't know. I finally got to visit in 2019, right before COVID, which is, great. That it's kind of peak New York, actually. But we walked through Central Park, and that was one of the things that we did while on a WhatsApp call with my mother. We did a little video call. And so Roger and I were walking through Central Park and, talking to her and showing her all the stuff. And it was a beautiful, sunny, wonderful September day. Mm. And we found the Imagine Memorial.
Oh,
and a wonderful, lovely guitar player was playing Imagine, and all these people were sitting around, and I teared up. I didn't expect to, but it's very moving.
Because he was in New York when he died.
It's the park is actually that part of the park is right across from the building where they
lived. See.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the building, but it's beautiful. I mean, obviously it's
tragic,
but yeah, it was very. Very emotional, and it's still going. I mean, it was just an average day that we were walking by there, and there were all these people there.
And it's still such a great song.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's like you have to imagine to get through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just have a think about that too, because it's not just about writing the music; it's the lyrics as well.
Yeah,
which must be the Mercury,
right,
coming through, making lyrics that are simple and yet resonate with so many people.
Resonate is the word, exactly. And that people just adopt them as their own and want to sing them themselves or
it's on your playlist, right? These songs because you think it's giving me hope.
Right. Or it's on your karaoke, list or whatever. Or when we do, I mean, I don't, as I said, I'm not very musical, but my partner is, and I have a few friends who are, and we have these jam nights at least once a month where a bunch of people come over and we play music, and I sing along even though I'm not amazing.
You're the tambourine girl, are you?
I mean, yes, but I have a few songs I like to sing that I don't butcher. So, yeah, I'm okay. But yeah, it's so fun. And those songs are like these timeless classic, and there's Elton John songs, there's Fleetwood Mac songs, there's more modern songs, but there's
but we all know the words to Imagine it. It's interesting.
Exactly,
and that was done after the Beatles. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah,
great. So we did say earlier that we're going to also be looking at Saturn to give things time to this. They're standing the test of time. And in Lennon's chart, he's got Saturn conjunct Jupiter. And this is the great conjunction of 1940 when Saturn and Jupiter came together in Taurus at 13 degrees. Yeah. And he was born into this.
Right.
So that is also opposing that Mercury. They both are making the opposition to the Mercury. But it's the beginning of a chapter. It's the beginning of something totally new when you get these new synodic cycles, these grand conjunctions that happen every 20 years.
Exactly.
So these are huge things. And if you've got them in your birth chart, go you.
Right. Exactly.
Otherwise, the rest of us, we've just got an aspect between our Jupiter and Saturn. We don't have the conjunction, but he does.
He does. And it's actually his tightest aspect.
Fantastic.
It's at 0 and 28 degrees. So I'm looking at a list of his aspects in order of strength, and it's the top.
Yeah.
So,
So that's it. So Jupiter, fortunately, has moved past Saturn. So it is actually just past the actual exact, which is brilliant. It would have probably been exact like 3 or 4 days prior, and that he was born, and he's got this aspect in his chart.
He's the voice of a generation. That's the marker of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he, again, opposing that Mercury there so even today, we know his music. We know what he wrote. We know his lyrics.
Yeah. And he's also one of those people who you can just do a squiggle of hair and those little round glasses, and everyone will know exactly who it is, right?
Yeah.
It's just literally iconic. There's only a few people I can think of: Alfred Hitchcock, Marilyn Monroe, John Lennon.
Yeah. People you've heard of. Yeah.
Yeah. People who can.
This is why
recognize him with that one. This
is why we chose these charts, because we've chosen charts to talk about this evening that who we're talking about. They're not obscure little South Vancouver guitar players. They're actually people. Everybody knows. You've heard their songs. You know the lyrics, and these songs have been played at your memorable occasions. They were played at your wedding. They were played when you turned 40, and all of these things. Yeah, it's a great thing. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our third musician we have here, and we're looking at Taylor Swift's chart, and her birth details are 5:17 a.m., December the 13th, 1989, in Reading, Pennsylvania, USA.
Yeah.
So that is returning an ascendant of 25 degrees Scorpio. And again, you can see the chart if you click through to the blog post. So again, Arwyyne, let's just have a quick look at our 3 planets that we've highlighted as talking about music. So it was Venus, Neptune, and Mercury. So this is now going down in her second house. Mm-hmm. She's got Venus in her second house, Neptune in her second house, and Mercury in her second house. Yeah. But that's not all. There's also Saturn and Uranus there. We'll get to that in a moment. Yeah. So she's got Mercury conjoined Neptune. Now, I'm not sure if she's a songwriter or she's just a singer.
She is absolutely, yeah.
So she writes her own material, and there it is. Yeah. Mercury is conjunct Neptune.
Yeah.
Now, it's with these 5 planets in the second house, this is an indicator of a rich, rich lady.
Yeah.
And I understand she is.
And incredibly, like those are also opposing, that conjunction is opposing Jupiter and the moon.
Yeah.
Which just indicates the prolificness, the massive appeal, and that moon, like, okay, so we lived through the Eras tour taking over Vancouver.
We did.
For 3 days, and it was
pandemonium.
It was honestly the second most, like the second biggest thing that happened to Vancouver since the Olympics that I've been here.
Yeah.
It was insane. People were wearing the little, beaded bracelets everywhere. Mm-hmm. Every restaurant had, they jacked up their prices. All the hotels jacked up their prices. We know a lot of people in the hospitality industry. My partner was actually working at a very kind of pricey and famous restaurant downtown at the time. Oh my gosh, he came home from work, was absolutely exhausted because the whole, like everything was Taylor Swift that whole weekend. He came home and he was covered in stickers, glitter, and little rhinestone things all over his face. Wow. And his arms up and like halfway up, both forearms were covered in these little bracelets that girls and families and, little children had made and given to him at the tables that he was serving. And because they were just so overjoyed with the spirit of Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Like her music or not, whether it's your thing or not, does not matter. She is a phenomenon.
Humongous. That was enormous. The summer of 2025, right?
Yeah.
And they had this massive, 3-meter high words,
yes.
Swifties, right in the city center.
Yeah.
They closed the street down here outside our building.
Big neon lit up, like glowing letters that you could take pictures of in front of for Instagram.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Over. So this is a modern singer. She's still at the absolute peak of her career.
Yeah.
Or maybe even still going to peak further. I mean, what do we know?
Exactly. She's young enough, for sure.
Yeah. So she's got these 5 planets, including Venus, Neptune, and Mercury, all in her second house. So this is the indication of clearly making money.
And they're in Capricorn, so business.
Yes. And it's a great thing that, again, we've got Mercury is conjoined Neptune. Mm-hmm. So again, I wasn't sure if she wrote music, so that's great. So probably she does the lyrics too. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
they're all very personal stories.
Are they?
Yeah.
So that's very much indicated there too. Also, we've got Mercury is conjoined Uranus, so it's going to be modern, trendy, up to date, right?
Yeah.
And also her fans have called themselves Swifties. She didn't instigate that. Right. So that's her name. That's Mercury again coming through. And then we've got Venus there too, which is great. Everybody loves her. And
she's inspired so much art, like for a while, even though I'm not a huge fan of the music. I don't care though. That's fine. What I actually did one time was I have a really good friend who's a huge fan. And she's always, when she comes over for these jam nights that I was talking about, she will ask the guys, my partner and our friend to learn some Taylor Swift songs, which of course they, as musicians, they can just look at the notation and be like, oh yeah, okay, we've got that. They're so simple. They are incredibly easy to learn, and they're so catchy, right? It's, if you're like a, seasoned musician, you can just look at it and go, okay, I've got it, but it's kind of rewarding because then you can actually go on and just enjoy it and play it. You don't have to sit there and like noodle around and figure it out. And that's fun. But the hilarious thing with Venus is that even though I'm not a giant fan, I did while she was taking over our city, I saw so much on Instagram of just these insane fans who, and I don't mean insane in a bad way. I mean, just she inspires people to do incredibly creative things, not just this, the bracelets and the wonderful costumes and stuff that we saw all over the streets. But I saw this lady who made a life-size cake that looked exactly like Taylor Swift.
Wow.
It was like when you walk into the Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, it was like that, but made of cake. Oh. And she had an Instagram thing. It was all sped up so you could see. And she made like every single finger was like rolled little pieces of like cake with icing in the middle. And the nails were like just candy. And the lips were a different type of cake. And the hair was made of a different, insane. Mm-hmm. That's me. I mean, I don't even have words for that.
Wow.
Yeah, but Venus,
dedication.
Yeah.
She's like made a whole group of people move. What's the word of that? She's motivated
inspired. Yeah.
To get this whole movement going.
And it's very Venusian. It's very feminine. It's very, a lot of guys who consider themselves serious musicians or, they make a big play of like, how they hate that, the whole thing. But
because it's pop, right? It's
pop, and it's frivolous and it's feminine more than anything. And I mean, at least, my partner, it's not his style of music, but he doesn't, I mean, he actually kind of had a revelation that weekend of just how he said, there's literally nothing negative about this phenomenon. All these women are so happy. Yes. And their families, like there were like men too, and little brothers and, whatnot. Entire families are coming out to do this as an event, and it was bringing people together, and it was beautiful. Yeah. He said, there's nothing negative about this. This is an absolutely wonderful phenomenon, and good for her.
It's crazy how she's managed to create this, right? And she's got Mars there right on the ascendant, which will give her drive. For sure. Yeah. And I understand she's dating a football player now. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%.
What do I know about football?
I don't know
as well?
His name, but I'm sure I could look it up. But yeah, a football player for sure.
Well, somebody knows.
Yeah.
But the point is that, and his jerseys sold out because the teenage girls went and bought them.
Totally.
So I'm afraid that we're a little
it's a
lax on our details on that one. But the point is that 5 planets in the second house.
Yes.
Yowza. You know what I mean? Yeah. Venus second house is always an indication of wealth.
Yes.
And there it all is. The Mercury is conjunct the Neptune. She can sing. Does she play an instrument?
She plays guitar.
Plays guitar. She sings, and she's writing music.
Yeah, she started out in country music, so yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's absolutely, and she's a force to be reckoned with. Clearly,
and Scorpio rising. I mean, I love that. Like, look at that red lipstick. That's her iconic red lipstick. That's Scorpio right there.
Wow.
As feminine and girly as she is, there's still that Scorpio.
I'm sure. Yeah, she works it. Yeah, that is great.
Yeah, and I gotta love that she posed, I think it was Vogue. All the Swifties are going to come after me if it's not. But with her cat on the cover. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing.
I love a cat lady.
Okay. Oh, and so we have another chart we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, and we had looked at our own charts, but it doesn't really make sense to talk about our musical whatever because, I mean, we talk about our charts all the time, and also neither of us are musical. But as I said, my family is very musical, and no one more so than my dad. Mm-hmm. My dad, Jim. He is not only a musician, but he has raised 2 boys who are also musicians.
Really?
And also teach music. And he also teaches music. And he also, in his 70s, is still in not 1, but 2 bands that have active gigs. So when I talked to him the other day, he was like, yeah, we had a gig the other day. We played for a couple hundred people at the community center. And we played about 2.5 hour set of Christmas songs. And this is just, just normal thing for him. He's also played at, just recently, like in the last couple of months, like they played a gig of they do a lot of cover songs. He has one band. It's called Maximum 60s, which is adorable because they all joined the band when they were in their 60s. Okay. And they're a bunch of men in their 60s, and they play a lot of old favorites.
Okay.
Fleetwood Mac and Bob Dylan and whatnot, and all kinds of things like that.
We'll put this chart down in the blog. So can you give us the chart details there, Arwyyne?
For sure. So he has, So February 11th, 1948, 10 a.m. in Owen Sound, Ontario, which gives him...
That's in Canada.
Yeah, in Canada. So that gives him 21 degrees Aquarius sun, and his rising is 27 degrees Aries.
Great.
Yeah.
So looking at his chart, how do you see the Mercury, Venus, and Neptune?
Well, so he has Mercury conjunct the moon, and he has Mercury in Pisces at 6 degrees and the moon at 8 degrees Pisces. So I mean, obviously Pisces is a very creative sign. He's also got Venus in Pisces, but it's all the way at 29. So it's at the very end. But those two, the moon and Mercury conjunct, I see that being, music is, his self-expression is something that is not always, it's not always public, but it's always very heartfelt. And he's a very beloved teacher of music, and his students, even through COVID, were coming to him and saying, we want to continue with you. Like, how can we do this? And he wasn't very computer savvy, but he figured out how to, do like Zoom lessons so that he could continue to inspire his students at a distance.
Okay. So what instrument does he play then?
What doesn't he play? He plays guitar, mandolin, banjo, piano, drums a little bit, enough to have taught one of his sons to play drums very well, but it's not his preferred instrument, but well enough that if someone comes to him and says, I want to learn the drums, he can teach them.
Right.
And I believe he also learned the violin, but he always kind of struggled with it. But yet he can still play it.
So maybe stringing instruments.
Better than most people. Yeah. And there's probably something else that I'm missing, but harmonica as well. I know he plays that.
Right.
Yeah.
So what about his Neptune and then?
Oh, yeah. So he's got Neptune in Libra. He's of that generation, and it's in his 6th house.
Again, honing your craft.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, paying it forward and teaching others.
Wow. So sorry. So the Mercury and Venus were both in Pisces?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're in the, on the cusp of 11th and 12th house. So Mercury's in the 11th house, and the moon is in the 12th.
Okay. So would you say that he is a musician because he plays, or does he write his own stuff?
He does not write his own stuff as much. It's mostly playing and teaching. But I believe he has written his own songs.
Wow.
But yeah, that's not mainly the focus. Mainly the focus has been in just honing the craft and passing it on. Yeah.
It's amazing when you've got that Neptune in the 6th house that you do. That is, the 6th house is where you hone your craft.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Exactly. And talking about the 5th house is of creativity. He's got Pluto conjunct Saturn.
Whoa.
And Mars also, but not conjunct.
Okay.
So, and those are all in Leo. Hold on. No, Mars is at the 1st degree of Virgo, which is interesting. But he's got he's of the generation, the Pluto in Leo generation. Yeah, and so he's got Pluto and Saturn conjunct there in the 5th house.
Wow.
So it's yeah.
And we did mention Saturn too as being the test of time, right?
Yeah. And he's obviously stood the test of time and never stopped playing music, never stopped teaching music, never stopped thinking it was important.
And he's 70-something now and he's still playing?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you've got to admire that.
Every day.
Wow.
Yeah. And when he came up here, he visited in the summer on my for my birthday. And all of my friends were so delighted to meet him because they knew that he was a musician. And everyone came over for a jam night, and he was just, charmed the pants off of all of my friends and was playing music along with everybody. And admiring their guitars. Oh, this one's a nice blah, 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 and knowing what all the kinds of guitars were. Because he's had his own music store for a couple of decades. He started in the 80s, owning a music store up in this little tiny town that he lived in. And then he moved to another little tiny town, but a little less tiny, a few years later. And he had his music store there until he retired. And then he just continued to teach and have students out of his home ever since then.
So it seems to me that if you are musically minded, or you are a musician or a singer or a songwriter, that you keep doing it all your life. It's not something you just pick up and drop off.
Yeah.
They continue on all their life, playing, producing, writing.
Right.
Up until the very, continuing on, because why would you stop?
Absolutely.
It's not just something, I like a cook, well, I bake bread. No, it's actually what they're driven to do. That's the interesting thing there.
It's the driven to do it thing. Exactly. And it's it's just something that they could even do. That desert island thing. It's like, they would find a way to craft an instrument out of like
coconut
shells, or, string like vines, or, the intestines of some animal, and dry them out and pluck them like strings. And yeah, I'm sure that's how music evolved over every single continent on the face of the earth. And all of the cultures that we have, every culture has a musical tradition.
Yeah.
It's just part of our.
And I always think it's interesting that when you are singing, you cannot hear the person's accent that they would have if they were speaking.
Yeah, that is.
So anyone who's singing, you could be anybody if you're in a choir or something like that. Like with John Lennon, and then it's only when you start to talk normally you hear the Liverpudlian accent coming through.
Did you ever see the movie The Commitments?
No.
Oh my gosh, one of my favorite movies that I saw in college, and I watched it with my mother.
Yeah,
and it's been one of our favorites. When I was in college, I would put it on and sing along with it while I was doing my homework. So while my roommate and I were, doing our drawing homework or sculpture or painting or whatever in art school, we would frequently, that was our favorite thing to put on was the Commitments soundtrack. And we would
What's it about?
Along. It is about a band in Edinburgh in the early 90s Scotland, and before it was gentrified or anything, like kind of like pre-train spotting even era, like down and out, like, kind of pop culture or whatever. And this, just bunch of kind of like degenerates and alcoholics. And this guy who wants to be famous, he pulls together this band, and there's like these three girls, and, one of them is like pregnant, and the other's like a complete, alcoholic. He pulls together like all these different people. And the first half of the movie is basically him just recruiting all these people. And then they sing all these Motown classic songs like Mustang Sally and, Chain of Fools and all these wonderful, like old timey, like, Motown classics. And they sound amazing. And there's this one scene where he's trying to get them to pronounce things like the way they do in the Motown songs. It's like, no, not, however your accent would be, but, you got to say Mustang Sally,
Yeah.
And it's like them learning to not have their accent cut through, which is hilarious. I don't know if that's how it really works, but
wow.
But yeah, they ended up touring as an actual band for years after that because the movie was so popular.
And it's so interesting with bands because if you've got, say, 4 people in a group, you would actually do a composite chart for the band.
Yeah.
So just off the top of your head, which is your favorite music band of all time, would you say, giving it some thought? I don't know,
Tool.
Who?
Tool. It's a progressive rock band, alternative rock band. They started in the late 80s. They are incredibly intricate and mathematical. And I've seen them 4 times in concert.
Really?
They are brilliant. I absolutely love them. Yeah.
Wow. And that's TOOL, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like Tool time. Yeah.
Not like TULLE or anything that's running through my head as you're saying the words.
I love lots of different kinds of music. I love electronic music. I love to, go to raves and dance. But But my absolute favorite band is Tool.
Amazing.
I like a lot of alternative, like, 90s, Nirvana and things like that. But Tool is definitely my favorite band. And none of them have shot themselves in the head. So,
right.
Right.
Yeah,
they've got that longevity.
Interesting. Super interesting. Yeah, it's interesting how, but that's the thing of band dynamics is also an interesting thing that one can work on astrologically too, because what we're saying here tonight is that you can't just look at a chart and say, oh, she's going to be a musician.
Right.
We all have these planets. We've all got a Venus, a Mercury, and a Neptune. But how you're actually using them and where they're placed is going to show whether that musical ability is going to break through, I want to say, the grind of the day of having to go and work at some retail job. Are you still doing your music
absolutely
on the fringes of your life and making something of it,
Totally. Well, the lead singer of Tool, Maynard Keenan, James Maynard Keenan, Maynard James Keenan.
Are they Canadian? Or?
I know, no, they're American.
Okay.
But his chart, he's an Aries, but I don't have his chart up in front of me.
Right.
But it must be interesting because he's not only in Tool, he's also in a couple of other bands.
Oh.
And he's just, incredibly prolific. He also has his own winery in Jerome, Arizona, where I actually lived when I was 8 years old for a year. Wow. And it's an old kind of gold mining town that fell on hard luck, and it's kind of in the Red Rock sort of thing in Arizona. So he has this very successful winery there. But he obviously likes to stay very busy and is incredibly driven as a businessman and a musician and a writer and creative communicator.
What was his name again?
Maynard James Keenan.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
When you know, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are perhaps someone who's got some kids and you're thinking maybe getting them into music, what we're saying is when you're looking at that chart.
Yeah, or I mean, even if you're of any age and want to get into music,
okay,
don't think just because you don't have like one of these aspects that we've gone into in detail that's doesn't mean you don't have it.
Yes,
but it just means choose what to lean into. And if you have,
that's a good one,
right? If your Mercury is really strong, then maybe think about writing music and figuring out how to communicate through music and using it that way. If you if your Venus is the strongest, exactly. Just
I think it's there. I think it's as I say, we all have these planets. It's the combination, because mine just I'm not musically. I haven't got a musical bone in my body, and
I mean, and if Neptune is the strongest, maybe that's where the inspiration thing comes in.
Yes.
If the Neptune is the strongest for you, you probably know if you're musical or not.
And really, you've got to look at this, not only the 5th house for creativity to create the stuff, but that 6th house of will you put in the time to what is it, 10,000 hours to learn your guitar? Mm-hmm. What have you put your time into? And if you've got no planets in your 6th house, look at the sign on the cusp, know what that ruler is, and look at that planet in your chart.
Yeah. To
see what are you going to do every day, which is really what we're saying for 6th house stuff. And
yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I have nothing in my 6th house, but of course, that is the Virgo house. So I'm, very strong in Virgo, but I have so many things I want to be good at. And I would love to be a good singer, but it's just not high enough on the list that I haven't put those hours in. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, there are things that just come easier. And that's what you've got to go. You've got to go with your chart. You have. Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. Okay, so we have been talking about music and how music comes and shows up in your chart. And honestly, we don't have a definitive answer for you. We're not saying that if you got this and that, you're going to be a musician, because one can't do that. But what we have done is we've looked at some serious musicians' chart. We've looked at Mozart. We've looked at John Lennon and Taylor Swift. And also then Jim, who is a music teacher who into his 70s is still going strong. So that's great. And again, you can click through to the blog post and see these charts and look into that as well. So if you have found value in this episode, please do consider sharing it with anybody who'd be interested. Make sure you're getting our newsletter, and you can sign up at starzology.com/newsletter. Additionally, make sure you're getting Arwyyne's newsletter, and we can find Arwyyne
I'm at mspink.net, MSPINK, and I send out my blog every Saturday.
So, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm talking about goddesses and personal stories and art and
creative stuff. It's great stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thanks so much for everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer, or someone who's learning astrology, or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.